What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Week 4 recap, Week 5 look ahead here at MiaMich. It's just me going to be today. We have a lot of scheduling things. We're working on a lot of projects and such, so this one's just going to be me. So I'm just going to do a really quick review for everybody, and then we'll just kind of go from there. Last week, I just want to start with number 2, Michigan beating Rutgers 31-7. Jim Harbaugh's game back is always good to see him. They left right off. Rutgers started off early, 7-0 on a slant. That just was a bunch of missed tackles. But then Michigan went ahead, did their thing, took care of business over in the big house. We had J.J. McCarthy going 15-21 for 214 yards and a touchdown. Blake Corum, 22 carries, 97 yards and 2 touchdowns, keeping that streak going strong. And then Colton Loveland, man, the tight end's getting some reps, 5 receptions for 75 yards. Big game also happened last week. Would have been Florida State going against Clemson. That was a barn burner. It was a overtime game where Florida State would pull it out 31-24. It was close at halftime. Clemson was up 17-14. Really good game, but Jordan Travis in the end started to pull it through. 21-37, 289. 2 touchdowns. Not much else I can say. That's just a good performance by a quarterback. Definitely Heisman worthy. I think Clemson has been kind of disrespected in a way. I think that's why everyone's like, well, why didn't Florida State blow them out, or why did it feel like an upset when it was the number 4 in the country? I don't see it that way. I actually see it that Clemson is really good, especially that defense, and it's just one of those where, the ranking and the record doesn't really define the team. Klubnik went 25-38, 283 and a touchdown. You can't go wrong with that. Great quarterback play all the way around from both teams. Unfortunately, Clemson did miss a kick that could have won them the game, honestly, pretty late in the fourth quarter. So, that could have been Clemson's game. Alabama took care of business against Ole Miss 24-10. So, there goes my upset of that week. They went with Milroe. Good game by him. He went 17-21, 225 and a touchdown with 1 pick. It was more the defense. Honestly, the defense is kind of what brought them up. The defense is what kind of won them that game. It was a kind of sloppy in the beginning, but they ended up pulling it out, and that's the most important part. Miami took care of business, 41-7 against Temple. Not much I'm really going to say about that. Van Dyke went 17-24, 220, and 3 touchdowns. Parrish, 16 carries, 139 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Wow. That is a performance, and I tell you what, now let's see if they can keep beating actual competition. I know that this coming week they got Georgia Tech. Next week they have Georgia Tech. They have a bye week this week, and then they have their North Carolina game, and that North Carolina game is going to tell a lot about who this team really is, so that's going to be really fun to see. Florida kind of struggled against Charlotte. 25, Florida new to the ranks. 22-7. It's the offense. It really is just the offense. It's just so sluggish. There's something about that team that just isn't clicking, and it's one of the reasons why I don't think they're going to be ranked at the end of the season. I really think they'll go 7-5, 6-4. 6-6. I just don't see them being that kind of team. But who knows? Maybe they shock us and they win 8, 9, 10 games. So Oklahoma beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati's first Big 12 game. Good game. It was 20-6. Defensive game. The Big 12 is always fun to see. Oregon just destroyed Colorado. It was 42-6. Never close. Oregon, right from the first quarter, they were just beating them down. I'm interested to see how Coach Prime kind of bounced back this upcoming week. We'll get into that in a minute. Utah beat UCLA 14-7. That's another great game where it's just defense, and defense wins championships. I'm still a firm believer. The better the defense, the more likely you're going to win a championship. So it's always good to see. It might be boring to some, but as a full around, all around game, you gotta love the defense and special teams doing their job. LSU pulled one out against Arkansas, 34-31. Washington State, number 21 in the nation, beat 14 Oregon State, 38-35. People need to stop sleeping on this team, and this is why I'm telling you. Well, let me get that stat out. I just want to make sure the stats are right. Cameron Ward has 1,390 passing yards, 13 touchdowns with 0 interceptions. He has led them to a 4-0 start so far. Stop sleeping on this young man. He's doing something. He's doing something right. Like, he's balling out. He's balling out. He has the right offense. He has the right coaches. And honestly, dark horse to win the Pac-12 right now. I'm really interested to see how that team ends up going. And, of course, 2 more games that I want to go through would be the Ohio State just pulling it out against Notre Dame. Damn. It's the best way I can put it. As a Michigan fan, damn. As a football fan, though, beautiful game. Questionable play calling techniques and near the end for Notre Dame. But at the end of the game, it was perfect. Great way to end it. Game-winning drive. Beautiful game all around. McCord did his job. 21 of 37, 240. He was clutch. I think Ohio might have finally found themselves a little bit of a quarterback. Hartman on the other side was 17 of 25, $175 and a touchdown. It was defense, baby. It was defense, and Ohio State just decided to say, hey, we're a little bit better. I think that I still have my gut feeling that they're still losing 2 games this year. One to Michigan because, go blue. But another one is like, there's something, it's kind of like the Florida team where it's like there's something about Ohio State which is going to hold them back. I think Penn State beats them this year. We'll get into that when the time comes. Speaking of Penn State, they went 31-0 against a number 24 Iowa team. That's 31-0. Given as a nighttime, Happy Valley, and you know how it always is, but 31-0 against an Iowa team. And that's an Iowa team that's known for defense. Now we're going to switch over. My bad. I have to go to the rankings real quick. Going over to the rankings. So our new rankings are such. We got Georgia at number 1, Michigan number 2, Texas number 3, and then it gets a little interesting. Ohio State gets back into the top 4. Florida State drops to 5. Penn State goes up to 6. Washington, another team that we should be looking at, because Washington just steamrolled Michigan State. And they're not done. I really think this Washington team could be one of the better ones in the whole country. USC dropped 3 after a sluggish game against Arizona State. Oregon went up only 1. I think that's a little disrespectful. I think Oregon honestly is a top 6 team, if not top 5. But we'll just have to wait and see. Utah went up to 10. Notre Dame fell down to 11. Alabama up to 12. LSU down to 13. Oklahoma is at 14. North Carolina is at 15. Washington State jumps all the way to 16. Duke 17. Miami 18. I'll get into that in a minute. Oregon State goes down to 19. Ole Miss goes down to 20. Tennessee is 21. Florida 22. Missouri at 23. Kansas 24, which is good to see, and Fresno State at 25. A couple games to look for this week. And this is where I'm going to get into the rankings and what I talk about and what I don't really like about it. So on Friday, which is going to be today, as of when the recording drops, at 9 o'clock, it's going to be number 10 Utah, number 19 Oregon State. At Oregon State favored 4.5. If Oregon State wins, what does that say about A, Washington State and how that win won, and B, Utah can't be losing these games. They're trying to win the championship, not even the Pac-12, but a national champion. You got to win these kind of games. So this is going to be a big detriment. Excuse the background noise, by the way. I apologize. We got number 22 Florida going against at Kentucky. Kentucky favored by 1. This is what I'm talking about. This game right here is going to tell me a lot about a Florida squad. Are they going to go to Kentucky and drop the ball, or are they going to go there and dominate and win? It really has to be one or the other. Michigan is going to their hardest opponent so far. Is Nebraska. Michigan's favored by 17.5. I think we probably beat them by about 14-17. This is going to be a closer game than a lot think. Nebraska has a good defense, and their quarterback switch also helps. They're on a 2-game win streak, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think they get it really close, but by halftime, I think that's when Michigan just kind of does their thing and just pressure, and then it's just game over. Number 12, Alabama's at Mississippi State. I think Alabama probably handles that by 21 points. The spread is 14.5. 21. I think they beat them pretty bad. Same thing. I think it's going to be like a halftime game. It's going to be like, oh, it's really close, really interesting, but then right after that, it's just going to be game over. Alabama's just too strong of a team, and I think they just have more talent. Number 24, Kansas at number 3, Texas. Now, this is my upset of the week. This is going to be really weird to say. All right, hear me out. Last year, Kansas had a freakishly good season. No one expected it. They have that quarterback. All right? They have their quarterback back. And they have a team that really is starting to believe in themselves at 4-0. If they were to go to Texas, Texas is favored 16.5, by the way. But if they were to Texas, beat Texas, A, because Texas is overhyped and overrated because they had a game against Alabama. B, it would show that Kansas has finally built something over there and people got to pay attention. I think it's more Texas being overhyped just because Alabama doesn't have a quarterback, but that's just me. I could be wrong. And maybe Texas is back and Texas has a freaking good squad, but I'm gonna need more than just what they've done so far. Another notable game would be 11 Notre Dame at 17 Duke. Duke, if they can beat Notre Dame, man, we can't be sleeping on them much longer. Notre Dame is favored by 5.5, and night game at Duke, I've seen crazier things happen. I think it's going to be fun to watch. That's all I'm going to say about that one. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Notre Dame pulls it out, but if Duke were to win that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to see that program finally turn to not just a basketball school, but even potentially a football school too. And last but not least, I want to talk about number 13 LSU, number 20 Ole Miss. This one's kind of keep their faith. They both have one loss. LSU to Florida State, Ole Miss against Alabama. Both teams, ranked always high, always great squads. If they were to just pull it around right here, I think the winning team here is going to have a great season. And I think the losing team here is going to have that not mediocre, but not great season. More like a, 7, 8 wins. Whereas I think the other one will probably get 10 or 11. So that's really all the time I have now. I apologize for this one being so short and so kind of quick. Again, a lot just kind of caught up. Everyone's kind of busy doing a bunch of stuff. We're working on the other podcasts. We're working on the channels. And then we're also just working on real life stuff that we got going on. But as always, we appreciate you walking, coming out here, watching the videos, supporting us. New episode of Leaky Lounge should be out today as well. So enjoy that. And then as always, man, we'll see you next time on MiaMich. Later.